Hello and welcome to News Now on TV360. I am Annetta Felix. A new report by the United Nations says over 10,000 children were killed or maimed in conflict in 2017, adding that more than 8,000 youngsters were recruited or used as combatants. In the report, United Nations expert on children and armed conflict, Virginia Gamba, said about 881 children were verified, out of which 570 were killed and 311 mutilated in Nigeria. Gamba also attributed 620 of the casualties to Boko Haram and 261 to Nigerian security forces. The annual report of the Secretary General on Children and Armed Conflict covered 20 countries, including Nigeria, Afghanistan, India, the Philippines, Syria, and Yemen. While expressing concern for the significant increase in the number of children killed, Gamba urged all parties to the conflict to take urgent action to improve the protection of children. Meanwhile, the Nigerian army has announced its troops have rescued 33 captives from Boko Haram insurgents in Borno. Army spokesman Brigadier General Jude Chukwu said the captives were rescued by troops on various clearance operations in the northeastern state. Chukwu said the troops also killed 6 insurgents during the operations. According to his statement, 4 of the 6 suspects were killed by troops on clearance patrol at Bulabulin and Falamari villages in Damba local government area of Borno State. 1 was killed along Miyanti Darel Jamal Road in Bama local government area, and another was gunned down by troops of 21 Brigade while on clearance operation at Yerimari, Ghana and Darel Salam villages in the outskirts of Bama local government area of Borno State. Still on security matters, the rights group Amnesty International have accused the Nigerian government of encouraging killers and increasing insecurity for failing to hold murderers to account for the killings in the country. The group's media officer, Issa Sanusi, who disclosed this in a statement, said independently verified estimated figures showed at least 1,813 people have been murdered in 17 states in the country this year, double the 894 people killed in 2017. According to the group, the death toll reflects killings as a result of farmers-herders conflict, communal clashes, Boko Haram attacks, and banditry. They added that they are gravely concerned about the rising spate of killings across the country, especially the communal clashes between farmers and herders and attacks by bandits across at least 17 states. Meanwhile, the Nigerian government has reacted to the 7 days of mourning declared by the opposition People's Democratic Party, PDP. The PDP had declared the 7 days of mourning in reaction to the killings across Nigeria. In his reaction, presidential spokesman Femi Adesina accused the party of politicizing security matters. Adesina noted that killings had been going on even while the PDP was in power, so they are not peculiar to the administration of the All Progressives Congress. He added that President Muhammadu Buhari is working towards enduring solutions and should be given the opportunity to do so. Moving on to judicial matters, the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Walter Onogen, has ordered all chief magistrates across Nigeria to inspect police detention facilities in the areas on a monthly basis. Justice Onogen said complaints of horrific incidents of police brutality of innocent Nigerians have reached threatening proportions. The nation's chief law officer said magistrate courts are currently overwhelmed with cases of inordinate arrest and detention of citizens. He directed the chief judges in each of the states to direct their chief magistrates to conduct an inspection of police stations or other places of detentions within their territorial jurisdiction other than prison at least every month. Meanwhile, the Federal High Court has adjourned the case of a former head of civil service of the Federation's TV in Oronsaye to October 18, 2018. The trial was adjourned as a result of the recent appointment of judges by President Muhammadu Buhari. Oronsaye's trial was until June 20, presided over by a judge, Gabriel Kolawole, who was among the newly appointed justices of the Court of Appeal. Oronsaye, who was separately charged for alleged diversion of 190 million naira, was brought before the court with his co-accused for allegations of misappropriating 2 billion naira pension fund. The former head of service is being tried alongside Osaronke Afe, Managing Director, Frederick Hamilton Global Services Limited. To politics now, a Lagos-based non-profit organization, the Leadership Empowerment and Resource Network LEARN, has asked Nigerian youths to participate more in political matters. The group, which held a forum on Wednesday, advised Nigerian youths not to only focus on the necessary requirements in the Not Too Young to Run law promulgated recently, but to seek the needed experience first. The group highlights the importance of participating in politics from the grassroots level.
It is nearly a month since President Muhammadu Buhari signed the historic Not Too Young to Run bill into law, reducing the ages required to run for various political offices in the country. The bill has raised hopes amongst many young Nigerians, especially those interested in running for elective office in the 2019 general elections. But this non-profit organization, Leadership Empowerment and Resource Network, LEARN, is advising Nigerian youths to not just focus on the content of the law, but go beyond that. Chairperson of the organization, Abimbola Fashola, insists that age is not the most important in running for elective office, but quality of ideas and qualifications.
What do you think you can do? What's your ability? Where do you think you can come in? And you must be honest with yourself, because this is about you now going out to serve and nothing more. Because going for leadership is all about serving. It's all about service, nothing more. So don't let us get it twisted. We must get it right. And you don't want to fall into that gang of saying, oh, they've been there, what have they contributed? Contribute your own little quota. It may not matter to the next person. It does matter to you that you have said yours and you have done it the way you believe it should be done.
Other speakers at the forum highlight some of their concerns about the Not Too Young to Run law.
It's a good thing for the youth to run, but are we ready? Do you have the capacity? Do you have the funding? When I looked at the bill, I laughed. I said, this is another way, with due respect, for godfatherism and inheritance to continue.
So the first thing I learned was politics is an industry. It's an industry with stakeholders who don't want other people to come in. So the same way you have law bar association, where if you're not a lawyer, you can't enter. The same way you have ICANN, where if you don't have the qualification, you can't enter. That's the same way politics is. But their criteria is not public. It's not known to people. It's secret. But believe me, it is an industry.
The Not Too Young to Run issue is not a new thing. It's something that predates our independence. If you look at our independence, you find that people like Zik were already premiers when they were 45. You had, Obafemi Awolowo was premier of Western Region when he was 45. You had Alhaji Amadu Bello, who was premier of the Northern Region when he was 44.
Political exclusion in Nigeria is much more about poverty than about age. I'm likely to be more passionate about a campaign that says not too poor to run, because that would capture many more people. So, of course, I support Not Too Young to Run. Why? Democracy is about inclusion. The more the number of people you are able to capture, the more you can say a voice has been represented. That's why personally I support an open primary system, whereby if you're a registered member of the party, you vote.
This is one of the few fora that has been held to dissect the content of the Not Too Young to Run law, which many have seen as an opportunity for massive participation of young people in politics. LEARN says its role is not only to organize, but encourage youth to take advantage of the law and push forward the right qualities of young people suitable for leadership positions.
The youth already have the participation. It's just that they are vying for position. So when you're vying for position, I don't believe you should just go straight. I'm from the school of thought that you don't need a title to do whatever you want to do in life. So if now you're saying you want a title, you must walk that talk. You must do those things that you need to do. You must be known in your grassroots. You must be known within your community. And your attitude, your character, and the values you stand for must always speak out for you.
The organization also says it's ready and available to provide any assistance to young people who are interested in politics to understand the basic of public service through the ballot box.
The Joint Admission and Matriculation Board has requested that the federal government take control of all computer-based examination centers. The spokesman to the Nigerian President, Garba Shehu, made this known after the FEC meeting on Wednesday. Shehu said the government has now approved 133 million naira for JAM to buy one of the CBT centers and its infrastructure.
JAM had run their tests, for people who seek admissions to universities using computer-based, testing agencies. And this had been attended by leakages over time. And in order to stop all of that, JAM has begun to set up their own infrastructure for conducting those examinations. And where they have realized that they were not sufficiently, covered, they have not sufficiently covered the ground, they have requested, as they did today, for government to buy up one of the CBT, computer-based test organization, for some 133 million naira that they bought over infrastructure, equipment and building. So the effort is that JAM wants to take total control of all these examination processes in order to avoid leakages that had in the past attended their own examinations.
You're still watching news now on TV360. More stories still to come right after this.
Corruption not in my country.
Now, yeah?
Yes, Oga.
Okay.
Where I go come find 300 naira change?
I better try look for change now. When they do business. Hey, Timmy. I did, bro. I be. I beg, give me 200 naira. Make I take sort out this guy. If let's no get change.
Take it, give us.
I said 200.
Give her 100 naira.
Yeah.
Okay, I agreed to pay 200.
How much you think they carry people from that place we carry on the chair?
Okay.
Not they touch me.
Now 100 naira. He agreed to pay.
Because that was what you said was the fair. Why you not go pay you? Why you they extort your customer? You see this corruption, what would they hear for news? They see for people everywhere. Now be this so. This is corruption, not in our country.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption now.
Hello, welcome to News in Business. I am Fidelia Aguncha. The World Bank has approved a total of $2.1 billion in concessionary loans to fund projects in Nigeria aimed at improving access to electricity and promoting governance. The projects approved by the International Development Association, the bank's low investment arm, are expected to support Nigeria's economic growth plan. Growth rates in Nigeria have bounced back since the third quarter of 2016, when a recession, its first in 25 years, bottomed out. Growth returned largely due to higher oil prices, with the country relying on crude sales for much of its revenue. The government expects growth to rise to a pre-recession level of 7% by 2020. The Nigerian government has approved 192.9 billion naira for roads and bridges in the country. The Minister of State for Power Works and Housing, Mustafa Shehuri, said this at the end of FEC meeting chaired by President Muhammadu Buhari at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. He said FEC approved 5.9 billion naira for the construction of the Suleja-Kasha Baguru Road and spur to Rafinsayi in Niger State.
Suleja Chaza, Bamburu Road, with spur to Rapin Senyi in Niger State. And the contract was awarded to Macy's Global Civil Construction Nigeria Limited. The cost of the contract is 5,970,120,991.61. Total length is about 16.7 kilometers of road. It also provides for the construction of 15 meters of bridge, two-span bridge. The importance of the road is it's an economic road that requires, it's an economic road. And there's also a bridge that was, I think, that collapsed or washed away, just I think on the 9th of June this year. The contract was awarded to CGC, Construction Nigeria Limited, at the cost of 130 billion.
Still on the Federal Executive Council meeting, the Nigerian government has responded to a report by a Washington-based research group, Brookings Institution, which said Nigerians are getting poorer. The report published on Monday noted that Nigeria has already overtaken India as the country with the largest number of extreme poverty in early 2018. In his reaction, Minister of Trade and Investment Okechukwu Enelama said there is no cause for alarm. While responding to questions from journalists on Wednesday at the end of the Federal Executive Council meeting, Okechukwu said the indices used by the research group in the report was probably compiled when Nigeria was in recession.
We need to understand when we get these reports that there are reports that are lagging indicators, which means that people are reporting on history. There are reports that are leading indicators, which means that forward-looking. And of course, there are reports that generally capture like what you do, which is current, which is why the fourth estate is so important, because you're actually dealing with information that is current. So when you get reports from Brookings Institute, all these sort of people, you need to look at the context. I mean, somebody may have written a report when we're in recession. Remember that if you're in recession, what it means is that even though your population is growing, people don't stop procreating because there's recession. Your growth is flat, which means that in theory, depending on how they run those numbers, you'll be going the other way. There is absolutely no question that there is an urgency to create employment in Nigeria, and it has to be a collective responsibility. What I can tell you with certainty, based on one's background in business and in economics, is that if you complete the things we're doing on infrastructure and you implement these reports we're doing, that's what I mean by a leading indicator. Poverty will go down. There's no magic to it. But you have to do it first. You have to put in the infrastructure. You have to implement the economic program, which is what will create the opportunities. They don't drop from the sky. So I think we should roll up our sleeves as a people and do the work. Because if we don't do it, and our people continue to bear children, obviously they'll get poorer. So I don't think we should kid ourselves that poverty is something that just happens. I think it comes out of the need, the urgent need we have as a country, which is why we are focusing it as a government to make sure that we create the enabling environment, the infrastructure, and the things that are required to create opportunities for our people. And I believe that will definitely happen in the process of time.
In response to the accusations laid against it, the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation (NNPC) has justified its 147 billion naira June remittance to the Federation Account Allocation Committee (FAC). The NNPC, in a statement signed by its spokesperson Ndu Ugamadu, said the remittance is in line with the terms of agreement reached with the governors on the issue. The statement also says NNPC was able to exceed the terms of agreement with the governors on the monthly remittance for the month of June by 35 billion naira, having taken a cue from their postures by taking from the sum meant for settling cash call obligations. The Federal Allocation meeting is expected to reconvene later this week. For the third consecutive day, the Nigeria Stock Exchange remained in the reds as the all-share index further declined by 0.61%, closing at 37,733 basis points, while the market capitalization, on the other hand, stood at 13,668 trillion naira. Today's market had 52 active traders, made up of 32 gainers and 20 losers. Dangote Cement topped the losers chart, crashing by 2.17%, followed closely by Okumu Oil, which topped the chart yesterday. On the flip side, Lafarge Africa led the pack of percentage gainers, advancing by 2 naira and recording a 5% growth. Trading about 140,357 million shares, Champion Brewers was the most patronized stock for the day with 259.510 million naira. A total of 414,927,526 shares worth 4.451 billion naira were traded on today's markets. Well, that's been news and business, and Netta will be back after this break. Do stay with us.
Corruption not in my country.
Anybody shop is a boss here,
Okay, let the way for us. Oh yeah, na kia. Confirm. Boko. Hey, Stone. Hey, Bullet. Una come here again. Baba, our national cake be this now.
Even all our chiefs and kings for the area. No be all our entitlement in the shop. We dey see shop inside.
What did they do now? None of they think. All this one that they do so, I don't know say una they destroy our economy.
Una too fast, una too talk. You don't know anyhow.
One of they scoop, they do bunkering. Now they do pipeline vandalization.
Corruption not in my country.
Stop corruption.
In Africa, at least 15 people were killed, leaving 70 others injured when fire swept through a market and nearby homes in central Nairobi. A Nairobi regional coordinator, Kangete Tuku, said the blaze broke out in a timber yard. According to the emergency service, St. John ambulance, the fire started around 2:30 a.m. and spread through Kikombe Market and nearby apartments and shanties before being contained around 90 minutes later. Located in the densely crowded downtown part of the city, Kikombe is a heartbeat of a huge informal market selling everything from second-hand clothes to hardware. It has been damaged by fire several times. On to Europe now. German Chancellor Angela Merkel has called upon European leaders to work together to find solutions to irregular migration. Merkel told the Germany's parliament the issue could be a defining moment for the EU. The call comes ahead of an EU summit focused on how to deal with the many undocumented migrants, mainly Africans, who continue to risk their lives to cross the Mediterranean. Merkel is under pressure to come up with a deal to prevent new arrivals. The migrant flows also include refugees fleeing from the Syrian war and other conflicts urgently seeking asylum. To sport news now, the early exit of Nigeria's Super Eagles have continued to generate reactions among many Nigerians. The Eagles were tipped to advance far in the tournament but succumbed to a group stage exit after finishing third behind Argentina and Iceland. The Eagles could only manage one victory against Iceland, and their performance has been seen as a disappointment by many sport analysts. The attention now turns to the qualification for the 2019 African Cup of Nations, and I am now being joined on the news by the editor of Sports Village Square, Kunle Shoraja, to examine what exactly went wrong for the Eagles. Kunle, thank you for joining us.
Well, a lot.
Coach Genaro has blamed inexperience for the Eagles' defeat. Do you share his view?
Well, he was the one who actually assembled the team. So if that's his second statement, the ability of actually putting together an inexperienced team. But personally, I feel that that match in question was lost, not on the field, on the bench. And minutes to a match, to the conclusion of any match, the coach ought to start the countdown, to start winding down the clock. When we have two decisions to make, that is the time it should be made. So to wind down, to slow down the tension, allow the adrenaline
need of the teams who struggle forward to score, bring down their level, and that is failed to do. And that's one of the causes of the failure of Super Eagles to advance to the this is not just a problem, it's an African problem. If you look back as far back as Italian 90, Cameroon were at the of May final in the match played in Turin against England. They were leading close with just 7 minutes of the action. What did they do? Within a minute, they brought down Gary.
Okay, so Kule, attention now turns to the 2019 African Cup of Nations. What do you think needs to change for Nigeria, especially being that we have not qualified for the past 2 AFCON events?
Well, that is the challenge now. I hope what happened 4 years ago, when we had the failure at the 14, the hangover of that failure was what actually trained us into the beginning of the qualifying series for the 20 African Nations Cup. And we failed in that very first match in Calabar, which was time in 32.
Okay, thank you, Kule. Senegal became the last African representative to leave the World Cup after a disappointing 1-0 loss to Colombia on Thursday. The Colombians finished top of the group ahead of the Africans, who finished third behind Japan. Although Senegal finished on the same point and goal difference with Japan, the African team crashed out due to FIFA's fair play, having accumulated 6 yellow cards, 2 more than Japan. The result means all of Africa's 5 representatives have now left the tournament at the group stage for the first time in 36 years. Tunisia, who already out, play their final match against Panama later on Thursday. Everton striker Wayne Rooney has signed a 3.5-year deal with Major League Soccer club DC United. He will officially complete his move when the U.S. mid-season transfer window open on 10 July. But there is no transfer fee, and it is understood that DC United have agreed a compensation package with the Toffees. The 32-year-old's deal is worth €10 million, meaning he becomes the highest paid player in the DC United history. It's a wrap here on News Now. Thank you for watching on TV360. I'm Annette Felix. Bye for now.